Hey guys, it's Chuck from Brady Adventures, and I am getting ready to start working on my suspension install. So I've got all these parts out here. I've got some new tools that are going to be really helpful, and I'll talk about those. Hey guys, real quick before we get started, whenever you're working on a vehicle like this and have the wheels off, have it on jack stands, it can be extremely dangerous and you can kill yourself. These videos are for entertainment purposes and to give you an idea of the things you might encounter when you're doing one of these jobs. If it's not something you're completely comfortable doing, hire a professional to do it for you or get someone to help you. My main thing I'm going to try to do tomorrow is get the springs in and the shocks for the rear. And then if I have time this weekend, I'm going to go for the front suspension too. But it's the night before, and I'd probably need to put a little PB blaster on the bottom bolt and the top bolt for the old shocks. I'm basically going to get this jacked up. The shock mounts are to the left and the right side of where your spare tire goes. So the easiest way to get to those is drop your tire, get the vehicle up and get in there. So if you can see right back in there, I hope you can, that's the top of the shock. I'm gonna reach in here with my good old PB blaster. It's a little rusty, but not too bad. Get inside here. Also want to do these drop links that are right here. Hey, good morning everybody. It's another cold morning. It's about 10 degrees, so I had to warm up the garage a little bit before I came out here. And I wanted to show you that I have a whole stack of different instructions. There's a lot of good instructions out there. I've got some from TLC, FAQ forum, from Rob Red. I've got one from Yoda MD, which is really good. Has some nice diagrams that help you understand what you're doing. And I've got the instructions from Slee that are also really good. So I'm kind of using all of these to kind of help me. So the first thing I'm going to do is break loose these lug nuts just so I can get the wheels off once it's in the air, and I'm going to jack it up and get it on these jack stands. I took both wheels off. I was reading a good write-up on I Hate Mud from Gunny, who said he did a little bit differently because he liked to keep the real wheels on. And I'm doing this by myself, and I like as much safety as I can get. Just putting this wheel back on. I don't think I'm going to have to take it off. And then I'm going to go start loosening all the bolts that I'm going to be taking off on the other side. So basically I've taken some pressure off of here by getting this up on a jack stand. Going to loosen my sway bar bracket bolts, the top shock nut and the bottom shock nut. I'm gonna break off this top one first, and then once I loosen all those up, I should be able to lower this down, get the shock all the way off. This bottom one here is a 17 millimeter. Oh, that came out, that loosened up nice and easy, so I think I'm pretty lucky there. And the drop link is a 12 millimeter. The sway bar drop link right here is 14 millimeter. I'm a little concerned about how much pressure is on this guy, up or down. That one came off a little easier. Okay, that guy clearly has some upward pressure on it. I'm gonna wait to mess with him until after I loosen up the top nut on the shock. So next thing, top nut on the shock. So my plan the whole time for getting this top nut loose is, first I've got this 22 millimeter ratcheting flex head wrench, which everybody says this will just make your life so much easier. And then I've got a little strap wrench that I'm gonna wrap around the shock. You know, my big problem is I'm wondering if I'm gonna need another set of hands to do this, but I'm gonna try to set this up so this would keep the shock from turning while I loosen that nut up there. I've got a jack stand under my hub here. I've got this jack putting a little extra lift just for safety, and I'm gonna crawl under here and make this happen. Right up in here is where that top nut on the shock is. By the way, this flex head wrench that I got, you can find a link to it in our notes. So I'm gonna reach right up in here. As you can see, when I turn this wrench here, I'm turning the shock body. Just like that, just a little bit. And man, this exhaust is a pain in this hat. It is just right in the way. I'm gonna see if I can get my strap wrench in here. Now this would be a way easier deal if I had somebody on the other side. Now some people will put a vice grip on the top of the shock. I've seen people drill holes in the shock. Hoping this is gonna work. Not really getting enough purchase with the strap wrench, so I'm gonna try it with this guy right here. I actually think that might work pretty good. Got this vice grip, it's nice and tight on there. So I'd actually be able to just hold the flex wrench and turn that. So let's see how that works. The vice grips are actually allowing me to get a lot of good purchase on it. I just can't quite break it loose, so I'm gonna put some more blaster on and drink a cup of coffee and try again in a little while. This is my plan here. I just put a bunch more PV blaster on, let it sit for a while, and now I'm going to put a wrench on. My dad taught me to do this back when I was a kid. I have my 22 hex wedged up against the cross member here. I'll make sure that's on there. And then I'm gonna turn this. Oh yeah, awesome. It appears it's loose, I think. Either that or my wrench slipped. Oh, there we go. Woo! All right. One down. All right, I'm on the shock mount, but not on the shock. So what theoretically should happen is I should be able to lower this real slow, and I want to watch those breather lines. And at some point, this spring will loosen up. And the shock is like totally loose. I can take that out right now. All right, old shock, good shape. And those breather lines are definitely getting a little tight. And do those real quick. I'm also, while I'm under there, I'm inspecting all the other lines. I know the ABS lines and the brake lines and everything. You need to make sure none of that's binding up too. And slow. Every so often I'm gonna check this and see if it's loose. I can still see I have some pressure on this. Just a little, well, maybe not. Okay. That's gonna come out of there, I think, actually. There we go. One out. So apparently there's a plate that's up in there, little top plate, and it looks like that's still there, so I'm gonna leave that right where it's at. All right, so I've got my OME spring here, and this is the A spring. It's the shorter one, and I'm hoping I can get this up in there. Yeah. I have to blur this guy a little bit more. Going in this way might actually be a little easier. Oh yeah, there we go, no problem. I'm gonna jack this up a little bit. And make sure this guy's in right. So I just wanna make sure he seats right up in there just right. And then it's down on this index, right? Kind of flush right up against there. All right. I should clean all this shit off there first. So I've got my 60,002 Nitro Charger Sport shock absorber here. Got a bag of bushings and stuff in here. Item where you have to actually press this bushing into the shock. Might need to do that with a vise. Once I got it started, I was able to just push it the rest of the way through. I got my 2 bushings and all these washers, and the silver ones go on the outsides and the brass are, I guess these are zinc coated, I think, go on the inside, these smaller ones. One set sandwich on top like that. Let's drop that on nice and tight. And I got my top nut ready, and I'm gonna take this spring off of here. And now this is gonna slowly start to expand. All right, there we go. Now it's gonna expand right into that hole. I'm just gonna let it expand out there for a few seconds. Oh yeah, see it just got snug. All right, now it's back under the truck. Get that top nut on, and that's supposed to be at 51 foot-pounds. I can't quite get a torque wrench in there, so I'm just gonna torque it as close to 50 as I can get by feel. The bottom nut, you reuse the one that was with the vehicle to begin with. Actually get that up in there, I need to get this drop link in. And once I put that shock in, this drop link is gonna be, had to take the sway bar off to actually get it in. So I need that full droop. Maybe not quite full, but I need another couple inches lower. Got that back in. I probably could have done that a little earlier. Got those pretty tight. One thing that's really nice too, the OME shocks, unlike the OEM, have a area at the base of the shocks. What you can do is slide your wrench on there, and that's going to keep the shock body from moving. So you can see up in here what I was talking about actually in action. You can get a wrench right on there. See, that has a little ridge. It's gonna seat down in that hole. Really, the hardest thing for me to do is gonna be to get that nut up there started. I spent quite a while trying to get that up there as tight as I thought it needed to be for 51 foot-pounds, and it's kind of a guess, but you know, the bushing actually kind of squished. Everybody said the passenger side was going to be much harder due to the exhaust. I did that one first. This, hopefully, is going to be a piece of cake compared to that one. Oh, there we go. Once we got the top nut off, everything went really quickly. Essentially the same as the other side, except a lot easier to maneuver without the exhaust. Jacking it up on the opposite side actually helps you get a little bit more droop so you can get your spring in. The first real problem I had was getting the drop link off on the driver's side. Tried a little heat and ended up really beating the heck out of it. This was not the place where I expected to have a problem, but the bolt that held the drop link on was was frozen inside of this little bushing. Unfortunately, I destroyed the bolt trying to get it out. So I have another bolt, like just a standard bolt I'm going to use temporarily. Everything went back in really smoothly. It takes a while to get the top nuts on just because of the small amount of room that you have to work, especially on the passenger side. But keep working at it and make sure you get them nice and tight. Unfortunately, a few of our final videos were corrupted, so hopefully these pictures give you an idea of the impact of the rear install. We'll be sure to give you a good comparison in the final walk around video. Thanks for watching.
Suspension!
Suspension! If you like this video, please give us a thumbs up and consider subscribing to our channel. And always feel free to leave us any comments or questions that you might have.